Hello, my name is Andy and I am the village idiot and a man with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. Welcome to the East Riding for the last time in 2021. This will be the last one that goes out before Christmas. And I'm beginning this one at a sports field. Now this is just one of the many landmarks you'll find in this town. This is a town in the East Riding of Yorkshire, and this is not the major landmark. This is not one of the things that you come here to see, really. There's much more in this place. Welcome to Snaith and Cowick. Snaith and Cowick today for you in the East Riding of Yorkshire, situated approximately 6 miles west of the town of Goole. A town itself, this one is formed of the town of Snaith and the villages of East Cowick and West Cowick. According to the 2011 UK census, Snaith and Cowick had a population of 3,579. It touches Pollington and Gowdall to the west, Goole Fields and Rawcliffe to the east, Carlton in the District of Selby to the north, and to the south, Sykehouse in Doncaster. The parish was part of the Goole Rural District in the West Riding of Yorkshire from 1894 to 1974, and then Boothbury District of Humberside until 1996. The main roads here are the A1041 and its junction with the A645. Snaith is 1 mile to the north of the M62 motorway and just south of the River Aire. The town's exit and entry to the M62 is approximately 5 miles away, giving access to Hull, Doncaster, Goole, Leeds and Castleford. The area is still growing, with various areas of new build housing being constructed. The average house goes on the market here for £233,000. Snaith and Cowick is made up of 99.4% white British citizens, and interestingly the non-Brits here predominantly come from EU countries, with only 30 of the residents here in 2019 being from any other country in the world. With an area covering some 23.89 square kilometres, this is the biggest parish in terms of land area in the southwest of the county of the East Riding of Yorkshire. And with an area that size, it gives Snaith and Cowick a population density figure of 156.8. The name Snaith derives from the Old Scandinavian word sneith, meaning piece of land cut off. Snaith was recorded in its modern day form in 1080. However, in the Domesday Book of 1086, it was recorded as Esneid. Despite the fact that Snaith refers to a detached piece of land or a place cut off, there is very little detailed information about this. It could be because Snaith was at that time part of a royal manor. The early history of Snaith is not well documented. In 1853, a skeleton and Roman coins were unearthed in Priory Garth, suggesting a Roman presence here. The local area certainly saw Anglo-Saxon settlements, but the town itself is hard to trace. Snaith is a market town. In 1223, it was granted a charter by King Henry III to hold markets and fairs. Until 1585, the market was held on a Sunday, and then it was changed to a Friday. Butter was a particular Snaith speciality and was sold from buildings adjacent to the east wall of the churchyard. As a town, you would of course expect plenty of amenities. This is certainly true here. There are a few parks and recreational areas, including where this video began at Snaith Juniors Football Club. The club was formed in 1990 as Croda FC because back then the football pitch was in the grounds of Cowick Hall. We'll talk more about that and them later. Snaith Juniors FC now play here, close to a Ben Bailey housing estate, and hold football tournaments at the end of May every year. The council proposed making a cricket pitch for a town cricket team, but no land was available. There are a couple of playgrounds in the village too, both not too far away from the football ground on Punton Walk, and there's a second close to a school on Bourne Mill Bulk Road. The Garth, adjacent to the Methodist Chapel, was also given to the people of Snaith for recreation and leisure. So as always, I make every effort to film as much as possible. Behind me right now is the Snaith School. Now normally, when I'd film something like this, I would stand in one position and just train the camera on it for about 10 to 12 seconds, but there's plenty of kids milling around this morning, so it's easier for me to walk like this, otherwise it does look kind of suspicious. The town has a regular bus service and is central to the 400 and 401 Arriva bus services, which usually commute hourly between Selby and Goole. The main town centre is very reminiscent of Howden, as we'll see shortly, complete with several old buildings and a church not too dissimilar to Howden Minster, albeit much smaller. The town centre is covered by CCTV, so you're more than safe if you come here to visit. Snaith has a library, a post office, a dental practice, doctor's surgery, pharmacy and a petrol station. There's also a cooperative store, an egg merchants and a variety of small retail, service and food outlets, including takeaways. This next building gave me a bit of a problem. This is the base for the town council in the former manor house, which is right next door to the fire station. Well, this one presents a challenge, doesn't it? Here's Snaith and Cowick Town Council, and of course we have information boards here, but they're actually inside. So I'm going to stick this to the window, I think. It'd be the easiest thing to do. It's not ideal, but you know, that's the best I can do, I think. The town has 5 public houses, all clustered together right in the town centre. These are the Down Arms, named for the Viscount's Down, which is also a 3-star hotel. Almost opposite is the Bell and Crown Inn, close to the town council building. The town has a very active cycling presence, with the local Marshes Cycling Club running regular rides from the fire station car park, which often end with a pint in the Bell and Crown. Around the corner is the Black Lion. Whilst I was here, I caught the shop that lies opposite this, RM Keeley, Farmer and Butchers. Out onto the main road and we find the 4th pub. This is the Plough Inn. Before finally passing the last one on the A645, the Brewer's Arms. Here's the aforementioned petrol station as well, known as Snaith Hall Petrol Station, thanks to it standing in front of Snaith Hall, which we'll talk about in a short while. Okay, church time, and not just any old church. This is Snaith Priory. Massive information board outside this. I'm going to take a few shots of this, and some of this information you'll see in this video. Look at that, for a wide tower as well. The parish church is in fact a priory church dedicated to St Lawrence. This is low and wide with pinnacles. The core of the church is Norman and cruciform, and the tower is early English and stands at the west end. The chancel is decorated and the nave has perpendicular arcades and a high clerestory. Glass in the chancel window is by Francis Spear, and there's a notable monument to Viscount Down by Francis Chantry. The church was designated a Grade 1 listed building in 1967 and is now recorded in the National Heritage List for England. maintained by Historic England. As well as buses, Snaith also benefits from a railway station on the very same line as the one seen in both the Gowdall episode and the Hensel episode in Selby. And here at the train station, there's yet more information to take in. There's loads in this place. So we've got 5 local families in the Snaith area, which we can read about here. These are the Wallers, the Yarboroughs, Stapletons, the Dorneys, and the Shearburns. Again, I'll take some shots of this and see what information I can pull off this for you. The station was opened in April 1848, along with the line, by the Lancashire and Yorkshire Railway, linking the coalfields of West Yorkshire to the busy inland port at Goole. The station had 2 platforms here and a signal box until 1985, but only one platform now is in use and only along part of its length. As well as the secondary school, Snaith also has a primary school too. Snaith is full of interesting things, so much so that there's a good chance I won't catch them all in this video, but I will do my best. How about this building for starters on the A645? This is a former school denoted by the blue plaque. Snaith School, this educated children from 1878 until 1957. In the centre of the town is a large information board with the details of many of the things you can find here, including this piece of information about the Priory, whilst being handily within sight of it. The board describes Snaith as having narrow York-like streets. If you're unfamiliar with the city of York, you'll be in for a treat when the channel eventually gets there. Take it from me, this description of Snaith is quite accurate. Honestly, you can't beat finding information boards like this because they're so helpful to make these videos. So here, it's a board saying welcome to the historic market town of Snaith, gateway to the East Riding of Yorkshire. And some of these landmarks we'll be seeing on our walk around. Not all of them, but we will see some of them. So I'm going to just take a couple of shots of this. So if there's anything I do miss, you can have it in this shot right here. Feel free to pause the video and read these. Snaith Hall is one thing we will definitely be seeing. Here's a map in the top right hand corner of the board to give you an idea of the topography and layout of the place. Here's the lockups. As a market town, it's almost no surprise these exist. These were known as the penny cells because once they'd done their job and sobered up the local drunkards, which usually would be placed in them, a penny would be required to be paid in order to facilitate release. Do you remember the little lockup in Tuxford in Bassetlaw? I think, to be honest with you, I'd prefer that one over these. These look much more intimidating, much smaller. I wouldn't like to be locked up in one of those. An historic part of the town all round, this area was restored thanks to a joint venture by Snaith Town Council and National Power. This is directly opposite the Old Mill Brewery, established in 1983 in a mill building dating back to 1791. Check out this bus stop next. It might not look much from across the street, but as we walk closer to it, you'll see it's been decorated in much the same way as the one we came across in Rawcliffe Bridge. Stellar effort. The building that's in front of is a plastics merchant, but this used to be a clog factory. Yes, those wooden shoes. The clog factory occupied part of the buildings now occupied by Snaith Old Mill Brewery. On the main road through the town, there's a small recess which contains the War Memorial, and this sundial erected in 2000 to celebrate the turn of the millennium. It's worth noting that the memorial is not the only one mentioned on the board in the centre of the town, as the former RAF Snaith has one as well, located over the border and into Pollington. So once again we see the Trans-Pennine Trail on the channel. Now, this is the first time I've ever seen Southport referenced on one of these things. That's the western end of the Transpennine Trail, with the eastern end of course being Hornsey. But of course here in Snaith you're nearer to Hornsey than you are Southport. Quite why Southport is referenced on this sign, I don't know, but there you go. Transpennine Trail on the channel yet again. So as I mentioned earlier, Snaith Hall is something we will definitely see on this walk. It's there, right behind this petrol station on the main road through the village. And that's about as close as I'm going to get to it, because if I don't think I can walk really any closer to it, because I would be in the petrol station car park, and that's probably private land. So yeah, it's there, trust me, behind the petrol station. To finish this section we have Snaith Hall, which is now a care home. It has a conservatory designed by James Paxton in the style of Crystal Palace in 1840. So everything you've seen so far has been on foot, and the sun has not been my friend this morning. It's certainly got in the way of a couple of shots, which otherwise would have been pretty decent, but never mind. Okay, now we're going to see some more of Snaith by driving around, so the camera's going on the dashboard. Let's see what else we can find. Okay, so effectively what that drive around has done is it's taken us out of Snaith and it's brought us into Cowick, and there are two parts to Cowick. Let's have a look at West Cowick first, and then this video will end in East Cowick. The village of Cowick split into two parts which are wildly different from each other next. Here's West Cowick, and much like Snaith, this was historically part of the West Riding of Yorkshire until 1974. This is just to the south of the A1041 road and north of the M62 motorway. In the late 13th to early 16th centuries AD, West Cowick was one of the production sites of a type of medieval ceramic known as humble ware. These days, West Cowick is a peaceful area of Snaith and Cowick Parish, far enough away from the busy town centre, with much more of a relaxed atmosphere surrounding it. Here there are a few things of note, like the Park Lodge Shooting School to the south of the village. There's a pub here too, this being the Ship Inn. Running through the south of Snaith and Cowick's boundaries and to the south of both East and West Cowick is a man-made channel. Mentioned before in episodes like Thorn, in 1628 the drainage engineer Cornelius Vermuyden is famous in these parts. He diverted the River Don northwards to join the River Aire. The work was part of the drainage of Hatfield Chase, and the river skirted the eastern edge of the village to join the Aire at Turnbridge. The channel constructed is called the Dutch River, and if you remember, I stood on a bridge over that in Rawcliffe. The Dutch River flows into Goole from here. So this, the High Street, is the main road through West Cowick. There is another street which runs sort of parallel to this. It's behind these houses. We're not going to go and see that. What I am going to do though is I'm going to hop in the car, put the camera back on the dashboard again, and drive the length of this up to the headquarters of a business that we've seen before in the Rawcliffe episode. This little drive brings us to the east of the village and the late 17th century Grade 1 listed Cowick Hall, the former seat of the Viscounts Down. This is now the headquarters of Croda International. If you remember in the Rawcliffe episode, we saw Croda's buildings at Rawcliffe Bridge on the bank of the canal. It was built between 1660 and 1690 for Sir John Dorney. The first Viscount and James Paine altered it for the third Viscount between 1752 and 1760. The fifth Viscount made two further sets of changes in the 1790s and between 1804 and 1811. Recent changes have been more minor. Nicolaus Pevsner, who catalogued the buildings of England, believed that the main fronts of Cowick Hall were amongst the most accomplished 17th century country house designs in the land. So interestingly, this information board about the Dorney family and Cowick Hall references two places we've seen before on the channel. Hensall Church and Pollington Vicarage, both very close to here. And in the centre we have Cowick School. Now you can find that in East Cowick, and that is where I'm going right now. On the A1041 is East Cowick, and after our little drive around the main residential area, we come to the school and the church, which is situated a little way back towards West Cowick. The parish church of Holy Trinity will finish this one off. This was built by Charles Ward of Lincoln between 1853 and 1854 to a design by William Butterfield. The work was commissioned by William Dorney, who was the 7th Viscount Down, and the west end is thought to be modelled on the church at Lindisfarne, also known as the Holy Island, which is in Northumberland. It's now a Grade 2 listed building. Dorney's commission also included the vicarage and the Church of England primary school, together with its schoolhouse, all of which are Grade 2 listed buildings. Similar clusters of buildings were erected at Hensall and Pollington, as the notice board said back at Cowick Hall. Check my previous videos to see these buildings as we've seen them before on the channel. So you'll probably note the similarities between this and Hensall Church. I think when I was in Hensall I did actually mention this church in that episode, if my memory serves me rightly. It was a long time ago. But of course Hensall is not far away from here, it's just down the road towards Selby, over the border in fact, into Selby as well. Okay, time for Snaith and Cowick's picture bit, and that's coming your way right now. And that's it for the parish of Snaith and Cowick, and that's it for the East Riding for 2021. I'll see you guys up here in the East Riding next year in 2022. This is the last one that's going to come out before Christmas. It's a week's break now, so yeah, hopefully everybody in the East Riding has a fantastic Christmas and a brilliant new year. And I'll see you on the flip side, guys. This has been the parish of Snaith and Cowick, and I've been Andy, otherwise known as the Village Idiot, and I'm out.